What's up, everybody? So this is episode 5 of The Fighting Nerds. I'm Anthony.
I'm Wes.
I almost said I'm Wes. What? Yeah.
That shows how nothing is scripted.
No, nothing. This is all raw. It's no editing, nothing, none of that.
We didn't really even plan for today. So, but I just wanted to start because, there's a lot of... Actually, this week's been pretty depressing in terms of news. People passed away, but also since my background in self-defense training and community, I just want to go on a little rant. It's already been said. I even wrote it on my Facebook, and it's crazy. They have the Brock Turner case. He raped a girl on college campus.
Unconscious. She was unconscious.
Unconscious. Right? He's getting his sentence, and it looks like his sentence is being reduced to a measly 3 months. And that's ridiculous because, it's a crime. And what makes it crazy is that his father, which even pissed me off even more, is he downplayed the scenario. It's like treating it as if this is it's a mistake. And he called it, he believed the prison original sentence or any kind of prison sentence was steep for a 20-minute mistake.
Yeah,
that boiled me. I just thought that was ridiculous, and I don't understand how he could even say that. If he had a daughter, I don't know if he does, what he would think if somebody did that to his daughter. So obviously, he's being a protective parent, but I don't know, what kind of person would say that? And if that was my kid, if my son was that, I would want him in prison myself, because that's insane to think like that. And what's crazy is the whole everything about it was what reduced the sentence, and the judge, what kind of judge would do that to even allow that, thinking that prison is too harsh for him, or it will be bad for him in the future. I'm like, of course it's bad for him. That's what the point of it. Where's the justice? This girl was taken advantage of. Yeah, sure, they had a party, and that was the thing. They were it was based on the kid's letter or whatever. He was blaming it on campus life in college, and he's saying, I will never drink again, blaming it on the alcohol and then the partying and whatever. Even if you were drunk, I know a lot of people get drunk. I've had my days where we go partying. I don't go around taking advantage of women while I'm doing that. It's that's obviously a part of his personality or something he wanted to do, and that just pissed me off on that kind of scale, and that kind of it put me in a bad mood this week reading that.
It's no excuse to blame it on campus life, drinking. It's not right to take advantage of a woman like that, regardless of what excuse you have.
Yeah, it's all excuses. He was just trying, and what's annoying, I don't know if, obviously, this, it seemed like he's a pretty, what kind of, how do you describe a person like that? That type of, he was probably a Ivy League style person. I don't know if he is. I didn't read his background or anything, but they started in the trial. They started using his swimming background. He's a great swimmer.
He's a Stanford athlete.
Yeah, Stanford athlete. So obviously, because he's a Stanford athlete, that gives him an excuse to commit a crime that's a heinous crime. For me, that's one of the worst crimes anyone can commit. It's been a passion of mine to teach self-defense for women like that, or even anyone who feels that they need to defend themselves in general. But something like that, especially it's crazy because it's somebody overpowering someone else, and he just feels what he did was nothing, or he's treating it like it's nothing. He's not even what pissed me off too is in his open letter, he wasn't even remorseful for what he did to the girl. He was obviously remorseful for getting caught in the act. But on a brighter note, so to speak, kudos to those 2 Swedish students who caught him in the act, because a lot of times these people won't say anything, right, and they jumped in right away. One guy tackled him down, held him to the cops, and they checked to see if the girl was okay. They knew something wasn't right, and they jumped in, and that to me is is the silver lining in the situation, because that could have been another unreported incident. Because for those of you who don't understand rape victims, victims of sexual assault is that a lot of these crimes go unreported, and I just think I was at least that somebody witnessed and took action, and that I'm, if I was the girl, and she was, or the parents of the girl, would be thankful for that at the very least. But it just sucks that it even happened, or even things like this do happen. But it just goes to show, is like, you know, the point is, the reason I'm mad at this is like the whole, like, that 20 minutes thing. It's like, first of all, 20 minutes is a long time to be in something. Like, I've been in, even when we train self-defense, even scenarios, 2 minutes is fucking long. It's like, it just in a fighting scenario, like, you all out, you know, obviously, you know, like, yes, and, you know, like, unconscious or not, like, her body is gonna feel it, is gonna react to this, you know. It's like, it's there's long-term effects on this that I don't know what. Obviously, again, I'm sure he's just being a protective dad, but fuck you anyway. And you know, like, but he's just, it's just a stupid thing to say, like a measly or a 20-minute mistake. It's not a mistake. It's a criminal act, and you know, a mistake is I don't know, like you throwing a baseball through a window and breaking it by accident when you're trying to, that's a mistake. You know, like, you don't, like, mistakenly take advantage of somebody. Like, that's an idiotic response, and I don't know. Anyway, let's stop talking about that. But yeah,
let's get the ban.
Just get that out of the way.
Let's get that rant out of the way.
Then again, next part is also depressing. We just want to, you know, legend passed away this week.
As your T-shirt.
You know, one of the greatest, if arguably the greatest of all time, boxer Muhammad Ali, aka Cassius Clay. He was such a prominent figure in the boxing community in general.
In the combat sports.
In combat sports in general, you're right. Yeah, like, he was such a huge influence, and his timing embarking on the stage of boxing was also big. You know, the whole with the Vietnam War, that's why he changed his name to Muhammad Ali. You know, we can go on. I'm not going to go through his history, but he was such a big influence, and he changed the game for boxing too. I mean, it's funny though, because, like, you know, we nag on cocky or arrogant boxers today, but we would always look up to Muhammad Ali. But people forget that
he's also a trash talker.
Yeah, he was a trash talker, but that was part of his game too. At least I felt. But both as somebody trying to, like, get into the head of his opponent, and for himself too, because, like, he had to feel that confidence, and I don't think he would be as great if he wasn't that cocky. You know, like, I think that was part of who he was, and how he garnished his game, because, like, it allowed him to be, you know, you had to have, all the greats had a sense of that kind of confidence and pride. Yeah, sure, there are those athletes who are a lot more humble and so on, you know, like the GSPs, you know, all this stuff. But, you know, even Michael Jordan had his air of arrogance. People don't know that, but it was warranted because they were that good. Yeah, and he could, you know, like, and he would put that onto their opponents. And I think the best, you saw that interview, the old school interview with Arsenio Hall, where he had Muhammad Ali on the show. Like, this is way after Muhammad Ali, obviously way after he was retired. And then he surprised him with the guests of Sugar Ray Leonard and Mike Tyson. So there's, like, three of my favorite boxers of all time.
Yeah, three great boxers.
Yeah, for me, like, Mike Tyson's my guy. He's always been my favorite boxer of all time. But I will never, you know, like, and what was cool was how it was just the interaction between the three, especially between Ali and Tyson, because Ali. When Tyson was there and Ali was there, and they all gave a big hug. It was a big surprise, and then Ali just kind of, like, points, and Arsenio was like, "What is it?" "I'm scared of that guy." That man. Mike Tyson was super humble. He was, like, very, like, he's like, no, like, he's like, he wasn't accepting that, you know. And then he's like, yeah, he's like, why? He's like, because and they were discussing. Arsenio Hall asked the age-old question at then, and people still ask today, who would win between Muhammad Ali and Tyson if they got in the ring? Yeah. And, you know, sure, Tyson had his downfall too at the end of his career, and people, you know, we never really got to see his, legendary status prolonged. But, they were asking, and then Ali was like, he's like, and he basically said, Tyson, he's like, Ali said, I'm fast and I'd be able to get out of the way. But if he hits me one of those shots, I'm out. He basically said, if he lands one of his shots, I'm done. And then Tyson was like saying that, he's like, he was saying that it's not, what Tyson said was, and this was cool, he goes, it's not, yeah, sure, he's fast and he has all this stuff and he moves so well, but he has this thing about him where he knows he's so great and invincible that he'll make his opponent believe he's invincible. He's the greatest of all time. And Tyson just said, so it was a really cool moment to see that, revisit that interview where they were, basically saying the other would beat the other, Yeah. So that was kind of cool. And, we can go on, like we can't really, they were saying Muhammad Ali at 20 and Mike Tyson at 20. It really is hard to say. I would say in a first fight, probably I would actually edge Tyson just because of that ferocity, that power and speed in the beginning. But if it was like if it was a trilogy, I'd give it to Ali because of his ability to adapt and figure out and plan, which basically what Tyson said too in the video. It's like, that's the way Ali is. He'll find a way. He finds a way to win. That was one of his greatest moments. So like he's, it's a sad loss. I mean, he fought Parkinson's and for a long time, and he was a warrior. I'll always remember him for, even when they got him to hold the torch for the Olympics and stuff like that, way then. And he's just such an amazing character, but he was always there for his fans. It was like that's what was cool about Muhammad Ali, and he's a legend. I mean, I even have his poster in the front of the gym. So it's like it's really cool. But it's a sad loss, but may he rest in peace.
Yeah. Just something related. I remember you shared something on your Facebook. They're allowing pro fighters to fight in the Olympics. Yeah. I don't know what you think about that.
I think that's stupid. I know. Well, I know. Then they did this in the Olympic basketball, but everyone's saying, but then they got the dream. But that wasn't the NBA's fault. That was the other country's fault, because the other countries were allowing their pro players, because their pro leagues exist all around. The world, right? NBA is just the biggest. Just as UFC is the biggest pro MMA league, there are a bunch of little pro leagues as well. Of course, yeah. But and they do have high caliber players. Sure, the top guys will go to the NBA, but they were allowing pro players because other countries were already allowing their pro players, but the U.S. was, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong in the order of things, but U.S. were only allowing their college players and so on, which were still elite players. They're potentially NBA players as well. But boxing, it's ridiculous, and it sucks for the amateur boxers. This is how I see it. It's like the amateur boxers trying to get known and they're trying to build their way up to pro status. The Olympics, some of them, Olympics is their best bet. Obviously, there are some countries like Kazakhstan. They are very good amateur Olympic boxers. They almost focus on that over there. Almost, I don't say they focus on it, but they always have a pretty good team in the Olympics. Their boxers are amateur boxers, they're Olympic boxers. Some of them, they just make a career out of Olympic boxing or amateur boxing, because it's different in North America, or at least here. I know amateurs don't. If I'm not mistaken, they're not really paid. They're not paid, just like in MMA. You're not paid in amateur fights. Yep. But these guys get, and some Olympics, and in the Olympics, some of them, they win money if their country will pay them if they go into the Olympics or things like that. And then every country is different. They all have different rules and regulations with how it gets them to the Olympics. Canada, for example, kind of sucks. It's from what I understand, they really have to get sponsors and stuff to get them to go and stuff like that. So they don't get as much. Why do you think the Americans they have such a great Olympians? Is because they have the funding. They actually sponsor. They get crazy sponsors. Yeah. They get big name. They get They get big name marks, brands like whatever, Nike and Reebok, all these brands like that will back them up, and then so they're getting paid at least through advertising and sponsorship. So whereas and the budget is vastly different between the States and Canada, for example. But anyway, sorry, a little off tangent, but I think it's ridiculous. It's like, I mean, you're this guy, and then all of a sudden you have to fight. I don't know. Imagine this was a few years ago, and you're fighting Manny Pacquiao or today's Mayweather. But then again, Olympic boxing, different rules. It's slightly different, unless they're removing the helmet and stuff like that. But it's a point system, so like they kind of go based on how many punches are landed, but that's even arbitrary. I think even the scoring system in Olympic boxing is a little messed up, because like it's easy to screw over a fighter so many times. Roy Jones Jr., for best example, he was in for the gold medal games back in '88. I forget what year, but he was there, and he almost gave up on boxing because he lost. He was up against I think it was a Croatian. And he just was destroying him. I barely saw the Croatian land anything, and somehow the Croatian won. I don't know how many points.
Based on points,
and okay. It's counted. It's tallied, right? In Olympic boxing, they tally points. Either it has to land flush, supposedly. But there, at one point, I remember Roy Jones. When I saw highlights, he threw a 4-hit combo, and they gave him like 1 point. It's like, and he landed clean, and then the other guy barely touched him at one point, and it's happened. I've seen another one. I forget a really good Canadian Olympic boxer. Same thing, gold medal match, and he threw. I kid you not, 5 hits at least. Threw 5 hits at least 3 of those 5 hits landed. They gave him like 1 point. At 1 point, I think it was a Croatian too, actually. He was there, and he like slipped, and then all of a sudden a point went up on his scorecard. And then the commentators were freaking out. It's like, where'd that point come from?
Right.
It's like he didn't do anything. Yeah. It was the most sketchiest thing ever. That's what I hate about the Olympics, for things like that. I mean, it's a great stage. Any athlete would probably dream of being there in the Olympics, but so much corruption and stuff. But pro boxers in the Olympics, I don't know, maybe if they limit how many fights they've had, or if it's they've only had less than 10 pro fights, maybe. But I don't know, like they've been talking about this for a long time, actually. I remember way back, like in the days of even Tyson and Holyfield days, where they were discussing the potential, because basketball had done the same, hockey is the pro players that are there too.
Right, exactly.
I think maybe they want to. I think they're trying to make it more for a ratings thing, and like for
I think so too.
Drawing more, but it sucks for like the up and comers. Now they're going to even have to. Some of them, not all, because like some are they're good at building their name, but it's hard to mount up. And if you get known through Olympics, some great Olympians, Mayweather, Roy Jones, all these guys, were great Olympic boxers, Sugar Ray Leonard, and then they became amazing pro fighters after they got known. They would have gotten known either way, but I just think I think it's silly. But anyway, that's just me.
But how do you compare that to, like, as you're saying, that other sports like hockey, basketball, where they allow pro players from, and soccer too, they allow pro players from other like leagues, regardless if they participate in the pro league in their country or in
that's why it's a catch-22 type scenario, because I guess I got so accustomed to it, and I almost forget about it, and we'll always nag on change. But I mean, it was a decision, because all the other countries were doing it, so like the States were like, well, then we'll put in our guys. Right, exactly. It is kind of fair, and they had to, and other countries are getting better too, right? So, and I think it's also on the level. It could be on a global scale. It's hard to measure pro like what is considered pro, you know, like even like I've seen some leagues and even MMA, like they're pro leagues. All a professional means is that they're getting paid to fight. At least here, that's the way it works. It's like it's a professional league, they're sanctioned. That's all it means. Whereas amateur, they have their own, you know, it's their
Like
own kind of it's like
league.
You know, they usually some amateur things is because they get some kind of subsidy or something like that from the government. Little things like that. A lot of different bureaucratic differences between the two kinds, but yeah, it's just it's a little it's tough. Maybe in the end we'll end up getting used to it, but it would just be kind of funny that you see it's like, all right, this guy, the middleweight from this one, and then the gold medal game is, you know, Golovkin.
Later.
So like, okay, you know, but it, you know, if it ends up being two top guys in a gold medal match, like from the pros, it would garner a good, you know, a view. So it's like in the end, I'll end up watching it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
if you see Canelo for Mexico end up with Golovkin.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, it's like as an example. I don't know what the standards are going to be when they do set this up, but I mean, they're potentially good can come out of it. It's just it sucks for the guys who've been really training to be in the Olympics. Now they're kind of the ones who want to. Now they really can only look forward to being pro fighters, and so you know sometimes they kind of. It sucks on that end, so I can understand on athletes who are looking forward to being Olympians, but now they have to break into. But I think you don't have to be a professional, because I remember the U.S. Basketball when they had what's his name, Anthony Davis, but he wasn't in the NBA yet.
Yeah, he was still in college.
He was still in college,
yeah.
so. You're not. It's not mandatory to be a pro. They're just allowing it. It's just that everyone's going to get their pro fighters.
Yeah.
But then again, you might get this like crazy good amateur who's not pro yet but deserves to be, and then he makes his name and starts beating pro fighters. You know.
I was gonna say that because especially like if you see in MMA, like kind of like nobodies that came like just they enter the UFC and they fight some kind of at least some a fighter that's a little bit more known, and they do well against them, then their popularity and they get some kind of recognition for, you know, standing in the ring and actually maybe doing well or even winning against a well-known fighter.
They get a good chance. You know, you get a good shot, and you'd be surprised. And like there's some guys you'd be surprised. There's some good amateur fighters just in general, like who deserve to be pro, and you know, like even locally here, I seen some pretty badass fighters and amateurs that I'm like, I can't wait to see this guy pro.
Sage Northcutt.
he's talented. You have to give him that. But he's
fighting on the 200.
Yeah, he's fighting on the 200 card, so that should be it. He's fighting.
I don't know.
He's an experienced guy, though, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember, but yeah, but he has talent, but we'll see. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've seen his fights, like when he did karate point fighting. I mean, the guy's talented, so
yeah.
We're not trying to.
No, it's just that they were trying to push him as this new. Hey, he's a specimen. The kid's young, super athletic, crazy shape, but he obviously still needs to work. But he's at a good camp, at TriStar.
Yeah,
and,
so
you know, like
you never know.
Yeah, he's still young. You know, like it's one loss, and you know, I give him respect for how he took his loss.
He's always smiling. Like
yeah, he's always smiling. It's kind of scary. It's kind of freaky, but no, he's
a little bit. Yeah.
It's like, is he a psychopath?
Yeah. Speaking about 200, I
thought you were gonna say speaking of psychopaths. No.
Speaking of psychopath,
no fashion. No.
Speaking of 200, who's the newly added fight to that card?
Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
Brock Lesnar. Now, we were talking about him not that long ago. I think our second to last podcast, how he, you know, if he was healthy, it would be interesting to see how he is. You know, I was never a Brock hater. After he beat Randy Couture for the title, You know, I was like, okay, you know, like, you know, he's because I was going for Randy. I was a Brock Lesnar fan as in wrestling. I would watch wrestling. I was a Lesnar fan then, and then but even when he jumped into MMA and they were trying, you know, like it was interesting. I wanted to see how well he did. Part of me was rooting for him just to see him do well. But
see what he's capable of.
See what he's capable
like
of.
Coming from, especially coming from wrestling, which is kind of like entertainment, throwing himself into a real
and at the time,
situation.
other than his sponsorships and stuff that you do get, you know, on a salary basis with the UFC, it was considerably lower than what he was getting in the WWE. He was getting paid a lot more in WWE.
For sure.
But then again, when you include the sponsorships and the percentages from the shows and what they make from pay-per-views, maybe he made even more. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But, you know, he won the title. Sure, his rise was fast. They kind of jumped him in. Like, he beat, I forget who, sorry, then he fought Frank Mir.
At 200. At 100.
Yeah, but before that, he fought, the first fight. He rocked Mir, but then Mir caught his leg. You know, a rookie mistake. Lesnar left his leg there. You don't want to do that against Frank Mir. Mm-hmm. Catches him in the knee bar. Or I can't remember, knee bar or ankle lock. I can't remember. And, you know, see, he loses to that one. But then he gets his revenge and just pummeled Mir in UFC 100. I remember watching that one live. Yep. And I was just impressed with his ability to keep short, close-range punches and you know, his wrestling background. His wrestling could help. Now he's fighting Mark Hunt, one of my favorite heavyweights right now. I love this guy. I love it. I love his personality. I remember one of his post interviews, he just gave one-word answers. Yeah. Joe Rogan was asking, like, yeah, no. He's
a nice guy.
Yeah. No, I love him. He's a knockout, and his last 3 knockouts have been all walk-away knockouts, walk-off knockouts. He would knock a guy out, and then he knows he's out, and he just walks off. Yeah. And he knew it was over.
That's so badass.
That's badass, but you know, it's also him not destroying his opponent while he's knocked out cold.
Yeah, exactly. But people when I guess you don't know that they're knocked out. Like, you know that they're knocked out, but you still want to finish it, like, just in case.
But that's his experience as a K1 fighter, because people forget. He fought in K1, and even K1, he was a knockout artist, too. And sure, his record is not, his UFC record or MMA record is not impressive. Mm-hmm. He looks, I think it's barely over 50%. It's like 7-4 and something. Mm-hmm. And, but he's fought really tough guys, for one. He's fought what's his name, Junior Dos Santos, and Stipe. Even Stipe,
the current heavyweight champ.
Stipe. He's fought so many guys. First guy to knock out Roy Nelson. Mm-hmm. Cold too. Right. I'm like, that freaked me out. That surprised me, because I know he hits hard, but for him, Roy's he has a really strong neck. So for him to make sure that neck strength didn't matter anymore, that was an amazing feat. So is it going to be the walk-off knockout, or is Brock going to be able to bridge that gap, take him down? Because Mark Hunt's
a very good takedown defense.
Because that's what he focuses on. But once he's on the ground, he can get a little flustered. But he's strong, and he might scramble out. You know, you never know. But I think Brock's conditioning is a little bit better, so that gives him that edge. It'd be a very interesting fight. I think and I give Brock respect for taking a fight with somebody like Mark Hunt. Like, it shows that. I saw his interview, and it was really interesting. And really interesting to see Brock with that with the personality. Like, well, then again, I'm basing it in wrestling. You know, they used to tease him that he didn't have a real personality, but for him to say, I'll fight Mark Hunt, he could have got like a better warm up. Mark Hunt's on a tear. He's on a 3-fight winning streak, if I'm not mistaken.
I think after that Miocic loss, the fights after that he's
won, right?
So far,
and all knockouts too. So I mean, for him to accept that and not be scared of that, also, you know, not being scared to have his head taken off. I mean, I'll give him mad respect for that, because like, that's cool, and it's gonna be good for the show on on a business.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You bring all the WWE fans. I think that was kind of a smart business decision on like the UFC's part, because since Connor's not fighting on 200, you kind of need another big name. You need another big name. I'm not saying that the John Jones,
that's the main
Cormier, event. Aldo and Frankie Edgar, like those those names aren't as good to save the card. But because Conor McGregor is not fighting on 200, since it's the biggest event in UFC right now, since it's
you need another big name.
Exactly. So why not bring in Brock Lesnar?
Yeah, I mean Brock apparently asked for it, and I saw some interview he did on SportsCenter, and he's like, I really liked what he was saying. He's just like he's doing this fight because he felt that he didn't lose to his opponents. But he was being honest. He was being honest with himself, like saying not to. If I'm not mistaken, he says like nothing. I don't think he meant anything against his opponents. Is that at that time he wasn't healthy, and apparently even before that he wasn't healthy. Even when he was
champ,
or at least the fight before he was diagnosed with diverticulitis. And then he comes back 6 months, 6 months after surgery, where he practically had like no intestines. It's like so it was like that was and I saw a difference in his body after 6 months. Like that thing, like he actually looked smaller. So like I actually believe that part. Like he felt he lost to diverticulitis, and then he was off for a while and came back to wrestling even after. I think it took him longer than 6 months to get after he retired to get back into wrestling before he decided to get back into the ring to do that. But then I know how he feels though. He's like in the back of his mind, he's like, what if, I don't want to go back and say, what if I had gone back and fighting? I kind of feel the same way sometimes every time, even though I've only done a handful of amateur MMA fights myself. Like I always feel, okay, I'm content, even though I only did like 3 or 2, and the difference of one, even though I lost, I was like, you know what, I'm content with that experience. But then you start watching, and you get an itch again. And I'm gonna go again, and I went again. And I'm like, no, that was good. I'm happy. I can end my thing. And then I'm like, I get an itch again. So it's like, you wonder, you don't want to wonder what if you did that, and I can respect that, And he's like, he's fully aware that he could get knocked out, but he says he's gonna make sure that he gets his. So like I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in that fight.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for Brock Lesnar. I mean, I was always a fan. So I mean, seeing him in the UFC and in the octagon again, I think it's really, really exciting. Yeah,
it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a great show. A lot of and don't forget, like we said, there's 3 titles on the line that show, UFC 200. You have the women's bantamweight fight, Amanda Nunes and Miesha Tate. You got Frankie Edgar versus Jose Aldo for the vacant featherweight title.
Yeah, well, I want to see something about that after, but yeah.
Okay.
And then light heavyweight.
Yeah, light heavyweight, DC John Jones 2 should be good. John Jones, I think, is going to be a better performer compared to, even though he did well against OSP, it's just that he wasn't himself.
Kind of ring rust.
Yeah, definitely ring rust. And he admitted to that. But it would be good, especially with DC on a tear again. He's on a good momentum, but he's coming off his injury, so we'll see. Yeah, what were we gonna say?
I think Conor should vacate that title because.
Oh, this is the interim title, right?
Yeah, because Conor is fighting Nate Diaz. Oh, there's another new another thing that came up. In 202, he's fighting Nate Diaz again. Not for a title fight. It's going to be, I think, probably at welterweight.
Yeah, he wants to fight him at 170 again.
Again, just as a rematch.
Yeah, in a way,
you should vacate the title. If you're not, like he said, he doesn't care about belts. He cares about the checks and blah, blah, blah. Then vacate your title. You don't really care about it. So
true.
Let Frankie Edgar and Jose Aldo fight for their
and if you want a bag, go for it. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. Maybe, I don't know what's going to happen after the Nate Diaz fight, but that is I agree with you. I assumed it was vacated, but I was wrong. So I agree. He should at least, if he's going to do that and not do it, he should vacate the title. Even I understand, like, he wants to try to be a multi-weight champion, like, but the thing is, I think that's his pride. He just wants to be able to beat, like he doesn't want to feel like he needs to meet him at a different standard because that's the way he fought him at, and he wants to avenge that loss at the same at that same criteria, right? So we'll see. But yeah, you're right. I think if he's not going to fight to defend his title, then vacate it.
Like he's holding up. Well, I don't know a better way to say this. He's kind of holding up the line for the featherweight title.
Yeah, for sure. No, but the Edgar Aldo too is a good
fight.
It's gonna be a good fight.
Yeah,
assuming Aldo's at his best, and it would be really good because Edgar went the distance with Aldo the last time they fought. Aldo pretty much, I wouldn't say easily, but he won that fight. But it was good. You know, he got pushed. Aldo got pushed. Not many guys go past, get that far with Aldo.
Yeah.
Only Hominick, Korean Zombie almost got there, but the fight stopped with his busted shoulder. So there was a lot of can't forget also there was another. I just remembered we also had Kimbo Slice passed away.
Another loss.
I mean, sure, he didn't have the best MMA record or didn't perform this. I remember watching when he was on The Ultimate Fighter, but he was known as a street fighter, right? He was the YouTube fights and all that stuff, and he was brutal. He's a machine.
Street fights.
And then he goes and and they threw him in The Ultimate Fighter just to see what happened, and he did okay. Like he showed he hit hard. Apparently I saw him. He rocked Roy Nelson, but Roy Nelson just took him down and he submitted him. Not even. He just ground and pound him, crucifix position, stoppage. Fairly easy because he had no ground game. But then but you could see his conditioning was off, and he fought he fought in Montreal. His first UFC fight was in Montreal, like actual UFC fight, not including the Ultimate Fighter finale show where I forget his name who he fought. He won, but it was just two guys gassed out by the end. But in UFC he fought Matt Mitrione, and he looked like he started off okay, but then once Matt started landing combos and stuff, and even he was like gassing out due to leg kicks and inside leg kicks. I was like, wow, like what's up with him? Then we found out that when he passed away, it was due to heart failure. Yeah. He needed a heart transplant. The doctor said he urgently needed a heart transplant, and then he got rushed to the hospital and died. It's a sad story. He didn't have the most illustrious career, but he was popular, well known, and
yeah, for sure.
He was doing this to put food on his family's table and stuff. So I mean, mad respect to him.
Mad respect for anyone that's trying to do that, especially in a risk in a sport that's as risky as MMA.
Health risk. It's a very high risk for health, and I know it. Like I've done it, even though it's amateur. But there's even amateurs, guys get knocked out. Guys have busted their arms, and injuries happen, and and even just the training. Sometimes, well, actually, most of the time, I find that injuries happen more in training, and some guys push too hard in training. And that's another thing that Brock Lesnar mentioned in an interview too. Is like he's training smart. And I like that because that's always been my mentality. Is like when you're at the gym, yes, you train hard, but you don't beat each other up. You don't go hard sparring all the time. You're supposed to simulate a fight so that you can react well, but you save your energy for the real fight. Because even me, I can when I'm sparring, even if I'm at another person's gym, especially if I'm at another person's gym, because I don't know them, I don't feel comfortable hurting my sparring partner.
Right.
We test each other. Very few guys, I think only two guys I can spar hard with because we agree to it. It's a good consent, and it kind of escalates as we spar. It's like we go, then one of us lands that one solid shot, then it's in, and we're exchanging, but it's still controlled. We'll hit, and then if we hit hard and it feels like we rock the other or they're hurt, we break and you okay? Yeah, okay, we continue. It's not like, we're not trying to knock each other's head off in sparring. Some gyms, unfortunately, I hear do that, and some guys push it. It's a responsibility of the fighters and the coaches too, and the people around them. It's more, you can't just you can't knock their heads around in training that they're not in shape for the real
Yeah.
fight. Save your energy, save your strength, but train intelligently and spar. Even a lot of the best coaches always say that. Freddie Roach, even for boxing, would say is like he's not a fan of all-out sparring,
Yeah.
or even it's like they try to simulate the energy, but does everything safely because he has fighters to protect. I mean, these are his they're his they're his guys. It's like you don't want your guy hurt in training, and I think that's a problem in MMA, especially in UFC. I think guys are overtraining. I think that's the biggest issue right now. Look, DC is injured. A lot of guys keep getting it. Weidman got injured, and it's a big risk. Like I don't know what. And it's always it's something stupid sometimes. It's like falling on somebody and tripping and then they're rolling on their ankle, or somebody kicking like Dos Anjos, RDA. He hurt himself before the McGregor fight, so like it's a touchy. It's tough, but at the same time they want to push themselves, But you have to do it smart. That's why the smart camps very rarely get injuries. That was the same thing. GSP got injured when he was supposed to fight. Who was he supposed to fight? Condit? I forget. Anyway, when he fought and he got injured, but he at the time, and he was even warned by Faraz, like, you're overtraining. He's like, but sometimes you get this pressure and they push a little too hard, and the training, and for him it was an ACL thing, it was a knee injury, so it's not.
That's a big one too.
It's a big one, so it's like it's not like it wasn't like he was knocked around, and I think that's what it is. But usually, like I said, TriStar has a guy. Very rarely an injury happens before a fight. They calculated Greg Jackson's camp, same thing. I rarely see somebody from there injured before coming into a fight. But there are a lot of places that I think they're just overtraining their guys. American Top Team has some pretty good, they have a good conditioning as well. So, anyway, that's my view on that. But, I don't know, like crazy week in the fight sports. We didn't even have time for nerd talk this week.
Yeah.
Well, it's a fighting nerd.
Yeah. So maybe next time we'll talk more about nerd talk then.
But
there's always something to talk about in the fight community. At least I'm a lot more. A lot of my news is towards the MMA. Like a lot of my news feeds, like on Twitter and stuff. A lot of it is about fight talk. So I mean, I see a lot of what's all the news coming up, and what's going down in the community, all the events that are coming up. So I mean, it's not.
Yeah, if anything, even though I'm in it, like I teach and I coach it, I think
you're
you know more what's going on in the politics of it than I do. I just more understand how it works, but you're in touch with a lot of the media. That's media outlets that are going on with it. I'm more there for the actual physical sport and understanding the stuff. But there's a lot of things going on this week, and may I again rest in peace, Kimbo Slice, aka Kevin Ferguson.
He was actually one of the first guys that got me into like at least combat sports. Because like when he was popular. Yeah, like I used to watch his fights on YouTube and be like, yo, this guy's destroying like all these. It's like bare knuckle like backyard fights too.
That's what it was. And he just like they were just kind of get out of their trucks and let's go.
So I was kind of excited to see him in MMA.
But it goes to show the difference between an unsanctioned fight and sanctioned. When there's rule and things, maybe he probably wrecked most of the guys in a real street fight.
Oh yeah, he did.
No rules
for sure.
Like even these guys we see in the ring, but in the cage, because they're not used to that. It'll take them time to adjust to that kind of energy, right? But but in the ring or cage is a completely different story. It's a lot more technical and it's more planning out. And of course, rest in peace, Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest of all times, if not the greatest of all time, at least heavyweight, and lost a legend in there. All right,
that's good.
Yeah,
cool. So. Tune in next week for another episode of the Fighting Nerds. Again, questions if you have any.
Yeah, questions, comments. We'll probably preview. Last time we talked about casting call. there's some news. We'll just hint it now. It's not news, but one of the suggestions to play Ghost Rider is Norman Reedus of Walking Dead.
Oh, he looks good on a bike.
Yeah, he looks good on a bike.
I mean, Walking Dead.
Tough, gritty guy. So, what do you guys think of that casting? And let us know in the comments, and we can maybe discuss it next week. All right. Have a good one.
See ya.